The open world aspects of New World is something that I've been both monitoring and hoping would show improvements for quite a long time. The reason I'm making this video today is not to definitively say that I think the open world portion is screwed or going to end up terrible or anything like that, but it's more a discussion that I'd like to have sooner rather than later. And in terms of why I'm concerned with where the open world seems to be going, you see there's been several changes over the past couple of months that have changed the way our characters progress and how we can progress to begin with. One of the earliest examples is the changes they made to the mob farming system. During the preview, there were a lot of people that were going over to Morningdale, Scorpius Tower located in the northeast section, and many of these people were just farming the mobs there constantly to level up. Now, this isn't something that I even consider to be a powerful exploit, definitely not nearly as bad as the Territory Town projects were during the beta, especially because there were several of us who were out leveling people doing this mob farming by just doing the faction missions. But based off of what happened there, Amazon decided to make a change to split experience you get from mobs evenly between everyone in your party. Which granted does make sense. I can see the logic behind not having everybody in your party getting the same experience as if only one person was farming the mob, but for me this is where things start to take a turn. They started tweaking these open world aspects like the corrupted breaches, nerfing the respawn timers and XP gains on that and mob farming, changing it so gold gain from farming mobs is only a chance and small chance as opposed to a guarantee, and elevating the instance content in terms of gold gain like the invasions, outpost rush, and territory wars. And on the reward side, the expedition and crafting is now some of the best in slot items you'll find. And the last part is not really an issue for me. It's that they seem to be starting to shift the balance more on the instance side and leaving the open world parts in the dust or intentionally bringing them down. Case in point, one of the most recent examples is when they also changed the way that mob and unique named enemy drops work. So now what happens is that you have a collection of individuals who are not in the party, or you have multiple groups, then you have a much less chance of obtaining drops from these enemies. As far as we know, chests don't play by these same rules, but this change means that if you want gains from fighting this stuff, you need to have a 5-man party and that's it. The problem that I have with this is that there's been a decent chunk of us that have been waiting and asking for more open world content and progression methods to make an appearance in game. Dynamic events, world bosses, stuff like that. And I'm not saying that the game should be exclusively about that, but I don't see why we should start to exclude that kind of content and focus primarily on just instanced, especially because it doesn't encroach on anybody's gameplay experience. Meaning if we were to run a corrupted breach train and you decided to level primarily through questing, it doesn't affect you. And it would never affect you as nearly as much as if we still had the criminal system in game. So that's why it confuses me when I do see people that are so against us having more open world methods of progression in this game. I start to think back to what made these MMORPGs really fun in the first place, and it feels like New World has slowly started to move away from that, where we have less options now that focus on the massively multiplayer side. Now, I don't intend to talk about the leaks or data mining aspects in this video, but if we were to go off of that as well, you'll notice how there is far less mention of anything open world related. Like I haven't seen anybody talk about open world raid groups, more dynamic events, world bosses, PvP based points of interest aside from those instance tournaments we talked about a while ago, and like I said, when I start to think back to older or even current MMOs, I remember that a lot of them did feature options for open world content, even if they were heavily instance based. And I thought about how enjoyable it was to fight these gigantic boss monsters with dozens if not hundreds of people, doing the dynamic event quest chains in Guild Wars 2, PvP based points of interest or giant open world fights, but then I start to see New World focus so much on the smaller scale content. Everything we have left just feels so boxed in, and it doesn't feel like they're intending to change that anytime soon. And my worry is that they'll focus so much on these pieces of content and things like weapon balance, adding more zones, smaller features and tweaks, etc., that the open world aspect is just going to get left behind. And the problem with things like expeditions, firstly, there's no more luster after the first or second run. The mechanics with the expedition keys means that you can't do this 24/7, so it feels a little bit like time-gated content where you have to sludge through X, Y, and Z to get to the part you might enjoy. And for questing, they have expanded on the story and they've been raising the cap of quest lines and we know they'll be adding more, but I don't think in any way that it's strong enough right now to carry the game on its own. The quest objectives by themselves are still pretty basic. We don't have cinematics or anything that can really hook people into the storyline. We have to read through several hundred pages of not just lore, but also quest dialogue, because if you skip through that, you'll miss a big chunk of what's going on. And all we really have right now is the foundation. And that's coming from someone who's read through all of that twice. But if they were to do something as simple as rebuffing the mob experience so we could viably level off of it, rebuff these corrupted breaches to bring them more in line with other methods, give us raid groups we could start in the open world, and rechange the mob drop rules, I think that would be a good start. Until they hopefully did add PvP based or regular PvE based dynamic events, potentially even a PvP flag zone in the future if people would be okay with it. I would honestly even love to see the old version of faction missions come back, or just buff those in terms of experience as well so we can start using that as a viable way to level again. I mean, another thing I can mention is that they even said in one of their previous patch notes that they noticed that people were not really exploring these points of interest. One of the reasons for that is that there's just no reason to. We can't farm gold that well anymore off of them. The experience is terrible on most mobs aside from some elite spots, and there's nothing really around them that's of any interest. Maybe MMORPG players these days just want primarily instance-based content, and this is the reason why it's been changing and staying like this. I've noticed that when some people comment on not liking content that you could do with like 30, 50, or hundreds of people, a common description that gets used is that it's too chaotic. Me personally, I love the chaos. It's a non-linear experience, it's a box of chocolates, and that's what I think can keep people going when the content starts to run out. And another argument I've seen is that people worry that the game would just be copying other titles. It's already got mechanics that have been widely seen in other games. Expeditions are just 5-player dungeons, Outpost Rush and Territory Wars are battlegrounds, with Territory War having territorial mechanics attached. In this genre, pretty much everything's already been done in one shape or form. And if you think something's new, then I think more than likely it's just a combination of other features we've already seen. And I think that without them enhancing the open world side and continuing to build that as well as everything else they're doing, that the game may not be able to reach its potential. And people might end up burning out faster over time and finding less reasons to come back if these are the only types of content that we have to look forward to. But like I said, this is a discussion and this is only my opinion, but I wanted to talk about it and get your thoughts on this too. What do you feel about open world content, and do you think the current form of it needs improvement? Let me know in the comments below. We just recently saw how they have new job listings with a few related to content for Amazon games, so this is the perfect time to talk about this kind of stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Farewell.